Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, and the Salem-Keizer Public Schools Budget Committee meeting is now called to order. It is now 6:07 p.m., and we will initiate this meeting. To get us started, I would like to ask Director Harnish to read the land acknowledgement, if you may.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. This is our land acknowledgement. We are gathered here today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day, and we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous people.
Thank you. Now, if you'll join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will go ahead and call attendance. We have a few folks joining us online this evening. That includes Laura Millian, Chrissy Hudson, Catherine Jones, and Director Satya Chandragiri are online with us. And in person, we have Oscar Porras, Cynthia Richardson, Nancy McMorris Addix, Lisa Harnish, and Kelly Strong. Thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate it. It's great to see you all. So we actually get to jump right into business with a new budget committee. As we reconvene as the budget committee, we have to elect a chair and vice chair. So I will go ahead and walk us through that. And once we elect a chair, if a transition needs to be made, then I will kindly hand that over. So at this point, prior to nominations, I would like to remind the committee of the following. All committee members received the voting procedures in an email prior to the start of the meeting, should anyone need to reference those. It takes a vote of 8 to elect a chair or vice chair, which is the majority of a committee, not the majority of those present. Even if there's just one nominee. So that's procedural, and you need to make sure that we have the majority. Nominations in this case do not require a second, and we will use a roll call voting process, which Board Secretary Ashley Stubben will walk us through. No other budget committee business can take place until the chair and vice chair are elected. So with that, I will at this point open the floor for nominations for the Budget Committee Chair for 2024 through 2025.
Chairperson, I'd like to make a nomination.
Absolutely, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Nancy McMorris Addix as Budget Committee Chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Not seeing others. Will you walk us through a roll call vote, Ashley?
I will. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Catherine Jones, do you vote yay or nay?
Yay.
No, Catherine? Okay.
Yay. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Sorry.
Nancy McMorris Addix, yay or nay?
Yay.
Laura Millian, yay or nay?
Yay.
Oscar Porras, yay or nay?
Yay.
Kelly Strawn, yay or nay?
Yay.
Karina Guzman Ortiz, yay or nay? Sorry, one more time.
Yay.
Cynthia Richardson,
Yay.
Satya Chandragiri, yay or nay?
Yay. Yay.
Lisa Harnish, yay or nay?
Yay.
Chrissy Hudson, yay or nay?
Great. Yay.
Okay. Chair is Nancy McMorris Addicks.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So, as the new chair of the Budget Committee for 2024-2025, Nancy McMorris Addicks, would you like to take over and facilitate the election for the vice chair?
Sure.
All right, and you have the talking agenda here.
So I will now open the floor for nominations for the Budget Committee Vice Chair for 2024-25. Are there nominations?
I would like to nominate Lisa Harnish.
Are there other nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Director Chrissy Hudson for Vice Chair.
Are there other nominations? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. So this is different than the last time. So we will use the process of the Budget Committee Secretary taking a roll call vote with each committee member stating the name of the nominee they're voting for.
All right. Catherine Jones. Lisa
Harnish.
Nancy McMorris Addicks, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish,
Laura Million, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Chrissy Hudson.
Oscar Porras, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Kelly Strawn, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Karina Guzman Ortiz,
Lisa Harnish.
Cynthia Richardson, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Satya Chandragiri, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Chrissy Hudson, please.
Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
And Chrissy Hudson, or Lisa Harnish. That's for you, Chrissy. Sorry.
Thanks, sorry, it's okay. Chrissy Hudson. Thanks, thank you.
So we do not have 8 votes, so we will have to re-vote. So I will run through another round. Catherine Jones, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Nancy McMorris Addicks, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish,
Laura Million, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Chrissy Hudson.
Oscar Porras, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Kelly Strawn, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Karina Guzman Ortiz,
Lisa Harnish.
Cynthia Richardson,
Lisa Harnish.
Satya Chandragiri,
Chrissy Hudson, please.
Lisa,
Lisa.
Chrissy,
Well, I'd like to ask what happens next. I mean, we're just gonna, do we keep going in this circle, or how do we get beyond this? I say
yes, we
Chrissy
keep,
Hudson.
okay,
Okay,
yeah. So we will move to another round. I'm looking at legal, yeah, okay. Okay, round 3. Catherine Jones, Lisa Harnish, or Chrissy Hudson.
Lisa Harnish.
Nancy McMorris Addicks,
Lisa Harnish,
Laura Million,
Chrissy Hudson.
Oscar Porras,
Lisa Harnish.
Kelly Strawn,
Lisa Harnish.
Karina Guzman Ortiz,
Lisa Harnish.
Cynthia Richardson,
Lisa Harnish.
Satya Chandragiri.
Chrissy Hudson, please.
Lisa.
Lisa Harnish.
Chrissy Hudson.
We'll go for Lisa Harnish, please. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So that now puts us with 8 votes for Lisa Harnish.
Thank you, everyone. Before I turn it over to Superintendent Castaneda, I'd like to just remind the committee that everyone should have received the established meeting calendar. And I will now turn it over to Superintendent Castaneda for the superintendent's 2024-25 budget message.
Thank you, Budget Committee members and members of the audience, everyone who's watching. This is simultaneously an important night where we talk about really important content and also the conclusion of a period in which we have been talking about this for really almost 10 months. And in that sense, tonight's presentation does not bring news. What it brings is greater detail and some reminders about the work that has been done to bring us to this point. So rather than introducing the budget, I do want to use the superintendent's budget message to address some of the really important parts of the story of how we got to this point and the work we need to be doing next. We started this conversation almost a year ago because we did not want anyone to feel surprised by the magnitude of what we're facing. And so in August, our very first public conversations began. We also started it early because we needed that entire time to engage with and learn from our community, from our staff, from our students, and understand what they valued most in a change budget like the one we're facing. And then finally, we needed time to make sure that we were doing our best work for the hardest part of what we all face, which is our reduction in force. And the time to treat our staff with humanity and care and respect, and also make sure that we send our schools into the summer and into the school year with certainty about their status. Who's working in their buildings? What do schedules look like? Who's on teams? Who's making changes? This is part of stewardship in a difficult year like the one that we all face right now. But there's another reason that we started a year ago, which is that it is somewhat grim to say that this moment, not just for Salem-Keizer, but for Oregon, and I will say much of the nation, is predictable. Because what's happening to us right now is happening to school districts across the state and school districts across the nation. It is the result of predictable and therefore tragic mismatches between what is expected of public schools and what is given to public schools to fulfill that duty. So I'm going to spend time in my message talking about those mismatches. And I do it in part on behalf of Salem-Keizer, but I do it as part of just one voice and what I hope will be a chorus that reminds everybody about the preciousness of what we have and the urgency of our action as a state. So the first mismatch that I'll be covering today is the mismatch between what is expected of school and what schools are funded to provide. I was recently in a conversation with the Licensed Association and Classified Association leadership, and we were discussing this issue. That if any of us hold in our minds a mental model of schools from even 10 years ago, but certainly 15 or 20 or 25 years ago, it is no longer the right mental model. The mental model of today is schools are providing almost every service that the social safety net is failing. We're providing mental health services, behavioral health services. We're providing basic medical care. We're providing support for food and housing insecurity. We're providing social work, wraparound services, and we're providing an education. In this budget, we will be spending almost $50 million on mental and behavioral health services. That is the highest amount this district has ever invested. And it is essential. It is a precursor to successful and healthy schools, students, and families. Some ask, is that really your job? And I feel our answer is, it is because it's what's necessary for students to learn. It is the reality that we graciously, generously, but sometimes with great fatigue, deliver. The second mismatch that I think that is essential in telling this story is that COVID funding, the federal relief funding, is gone. As of September, Salem-Keizer and every other school district in America will no longer have access to that funding. It was $151 million here. And when we received that funding, the message that we received from the state was, in 2021, we're going to give you a little less because you are flush with federal money. And so we said, okay, we'll do what we can. And like every district in this state, we did. We invested in services for students because that was the urgent need then and it's the urgent need now. But now, the money is disappearing and the need is still present. And the caving in of that funding gap in 2021, compounded with the issues now, mean that we're literally on sinking financial ground while we're grasping for even more that our schools and our community needs. This too was predicted, but that doesn't mean we had the tools to solve it. It just means we knew it was coming. The third mismatch that is crashing into our system and settling into systems across Oregon is that there are grave errors in the funding formula, and in particular, in the way that the state determines how much it will cost to pay for schooling at the current level in the future. And I'm going to offer just two examples. These are not examples about the funding formula's design. These are not examples about its adequacy. These are basic calculation issues. For this biennium, school systems were projected to have personnel increases of 5.45% over 2 years. Salem-Keizer's increase was over 14%. And we are 87% people. That is a gaping error. And what is happening in Salem-Keizer and throughout Oregon is systems are dipping into their reserves, or in some cases, like ours, making reductions to address that. The state statements on this are understandable. They say we couldn't have predicted these labor costs. We couldn't have predicted hyperinflation. But my response to that is we can't have a method subject to that kind of error. Because when we do, what happens is school systems like ours, without local option levies, without alternatives, we ride into the hollow of those waves. We have no alternatives, and we have limited buffer. The second example inside the formula are arbitrary but effective caps that limit the state's exposure to the real costs of educating specifically students with disabilities. The 11% cap, plus the way that weights are managed, means that Salem-Keizer, on this point alone, was underfunded by approximately $20 million in this biennium. Just that one point, $20 million in this biennium. We're not asking for wealth, but we are advocating for health. The health of our staff, the health of our schools, the health of our community. And then finally, the fourth mismatch that we and many Oregon systems are contending with is that we are a state in declining enrollment. And we are a system in declining enrollment. In 2007, that was the last year that we had approximately equivalent enrollment to this year. This year, we have 46% more staff than we did in 2007. Almost 1.5 times more staff across every employee group than in 2007. And I'm frequently asked, why? Why do you need so much? And my answer is usually, come visit schools with me. Come look at the places that are not overstaffed. Come look at the students who are having great experiences, even if they carried in great challenges. Come look at staff who are making incredible things happen, but they are exhausted. The staffing increase is not commensurate with enrollment, it's commensurate with need. These are the things that are bringing funding in Oregon schools to a crisis. And I believe we're just the first and most visible. So I use my budget address here really to say, not just to you, but to Oregon, what are we going to do about this? Is this tolerable to us? Are we making the right choices? And if we can't say the answer is yes, then we need a collective position for an alternative. In order to talk about this moment, we have to acknowledge, and I think to a certain degree, many of us collectively acknowledge the grief of the kinds of reductions we're making right now. I get emails every day from staff now. And they say things like, how could this be happening? Do you know how hard this is on us? Do you know how terrible and stressful this moment is? What's going to happen next for me and my students? That is pain and grief. And it is really hard to stand in the face of that and say what I'm saying to you and our whole community, which is that we have a legal and an ethical responsibility to ensure that our district does not fall into a financial crisis in the spring. We cannot let that happen. We cannot afford hesitancy right now. But we can tolerate the emotional ambivalence of this because it is so true and profound. The very best that I see happening next is that we come together with courage and adamancy and grace, and we say, we are one district, but we are an effective warning and spokesperson for the state. We have time to deal with this as a state. And we can. I'm sure we can. In the meantime, we have to do something really hard over the coming weeks. So let's talk a little bit about this budget. The communication and development of this budget, actually, Erin, can you just go to the next slide? Has really been going on all year, and I believe that we have amply and deeply discussed it as a body and as a community. And I will say that in August, what we said, specifically in the very first message, we are going to have a challenge that we will rise to as a community. We're going to have a significant gap, and I want to take this opportunity to start a conversation that will last the whole year. And I believe that's what we've done. Our process has been continuous, it's been inclusive, it's been transparent, and it's been progressive. In July, we took early action and started minimizing expenses and enacted a functional hiring freeze on positions that were not serving schools and students. We locked down on elective spending, and in December, we announced the first round of reductions. It was a recommended $31 million in adjustments and reductions. And in that moment, we went as deep into all of the operational parts of our system as we knew how to. We did that in December for two reasons. The first is that the administrative cuts had to come first. They had to be the deepest, and they had to live our values. We knew more was coming, but you start with the system that is behind the scenes before you move forward to the system that's serving schools. Almost half of this reduction came in that first round. Over that same period, can you progress to the next slide? We started getting greater clarity about the forecasting and the expenses. Specifically, what we got to was greater clarity about our personnel costs with the conclusion of bargaining. And so this graph, which you have already seen in our April meeting, shows what it looked like after two things happened. The conclusion of bargaining, which concluded any uncertainty about our forecasting variables, and the $31 million in reductions. Two key things to pull out from this graph. The first is that even with the first round of reductions, we were still projecting an ending fund balance for the 24-25 year of $41 million. That is not enough for a system of our size. It is below policy targets. It is unsafe. The second thing to see about this graph is that you can see that it's still showing a $45 million expense revenue gap. What that means is if we spent everything we budgeted, we're just starting to dig ourselves back into another version of the hole that we're trying to climb out of. This budget is not one we could have brought to you. Then, last month, we brought another round of proposed reductions, and these are the ones that I think we all were dreading, because the vast majority of our funding is in people, and the second round was a reduction in force. Can you move to the next slide, please? This reduction took into account many factors: feedback from the community, board priorities, the application of our equity lens. And what you can see here are the things that are so precious and essential to who we are as a district and how we serve students, that we prioritize them. Dual language, career and tech, music, I don't need to read this whole list to you. The protection of these is a values-focused budget reduction. We did not do the easy thing. The easy thing is an across-the-board cut. Across-the-board cuts are devastating to school systems. I was recently with a principal, and she was talking about this moment, and she said, "There are such amazing things happening in my school right now. It is awesome." And it is so strange to me that the awful lives right alongside it. That is how it can feel at times right now in our schools, because we're sitting on the verge of an inflection point, something that will change us. The parts that are awesome because of our staff. And the parts that are awful are largely from a policy and infrastructure funding that is terribly broken. And still, we have to forge ahead. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is a summary of those reductions, which were already brought to the board in a resolution for a reduction in force in April. And I want to point out a couple of quick changes here. In April, the board approved a reduction in force of up to 71 million, and the total number of FTE impacted was higher than what you see here. That's because after reviewing schedules, schedules and ratio, we've reinstated 15 licensed FTE. And so what you will see here is it was previously 239 licensed FTE, and it is now 224. This was the process we told you we were going to take. We worked closely with our building leaders and their teams, and that resulted in the reinstatement. This is what we look like with the proposed reductions. Some highlights from this that I think are worthy of your attention. A $70 million reduction is a 5.34% reduction across all funding sources. For organizations of our size, no matter what sector you were in, if you were to say somebody, we are cutting 5% of our funding across all sources, they would say that is a significant reduction. This, however, does bring us closer to a healthy financial state. What you'll see here is a $60 million ending fund balance that is within policy targets. That brings us to 9%. The second thing that you'll see here is that it still leaves a $27 million forecasted gap in expenses and revenue. Leaving that kind of gap is something that should capture your attention. We cannot cut any more this year. It is my sober reflection that our system has taken all that it can. And it is better to leave the $27 million gap in there than it is to try to go deeper now. So we're gonna monitor this gap all year. We're gonna try to close it with vacancy savings and with other expense management. And we are not gonna close it all the way. But I believe that it is the safest thing for us to do. I'm gonna close the budget message here with just a couple of statements about what I believe and a question not for just you all in the dais and not just for the audience in the room, but a question for what I believe belongs to everyone who cares about public education in this state. First, I believe in our schools and the power of our community to take action. We have to cut now, but we cannot cut our way to success. We need a revenue solution. It isn't gonna come in time for this moment, but it is gonna come in time for our schools. I also believe that looking at the past, allegations, finger pointing, infighting is not going to generate the momentum of a collective solution. We have this spectacular opportunity to come together as a community and say that we expect more, and we know the only way to achieve more is to do it together. I believe we can do that if we recognize that this is an inflection point. The arguments, the disagreements, they are not gonna serve us in the next stage. What is gonna serve us is a collective vision. And so my question, not just for this room, but as I said, for our community and for our state is, can we agree that schools are the most important institution? And if we can we agree that there is powerful work that we're responsible for? With that, I will conclude my budget message, and I will turn it over to the new Budget Committee chairperson to move us into the next stage.
And the next stage is the overview of the 2024-25 proposed budget, and I will turn it back to the superintendent to walk us through that.
Okay, So now we get into the heart of the budget presentation and the much anticipated budget books. So for anyone who's watching online, I believe it is true that they are posted, so you can follow along online. This presentation is going to draw heavily from your budget book. For each portion that we discuss, I'm going to be giving you a page number, and we will work one step at a time through the pages. I promise you we will not work one step at a time through 177 pages. So first, as an orientation, you'll see that the very beginning gives you a table of contents and then starts with a budget message and then basic information about our system, about our profile, and about our overall proposed 24-25 budget. You'll also find that there is information, indexing information that helps you understand what different numbers mean, what different terms mean. There is a glossary section at the back. For those of you who have seen these before, this is all things you know. For anyone who's new to this, welcome to the budget book. So I'm going to provide some high-level overviews, and then after that, we'll be jumping into some page details. So first you can see here in just high-level overviews on the screen, you'll see the overview of our all funds view. And I think one of the key things that I want to offer you here is just, there's frequently a question that comes to us of your operating budget is 1.x billion, depending on the year. Where's all the money? Why isn't it in schools? And the point that you can see in this graph is that our operating budget is not the same as our all-in budget. Large portions are dedicated to other expenses, like capital expenses, debt service, things that we cannot use to fund the day-to-day operations of our schools. And so you can see at a high-level view the proportions here. And can we go on to the next slide, please? This is the same amount of information, but presented in a slightly different way. And what you can see here is that it's presented by wages and salaries and other expenses. This gives you a sense of proportionately how we invest this budget, all resources. Over the course of the year, we've been saying repeatedly to the community, the vast majority of our operating budget is spent on people, and this is where you can start to see some of the elements of that. Next slide. Okay, now we're going to jump directly into the budget book, so if I can refer you all to page 31. You will not see this exact table, but you will see this data in your budget book. So because this is a change budget, the way we're going to introduce you and walk you through some of the key elements is looking at the difference between last year and this year. So all of the tables you'll see next give you a page number. It'll give you an item reference, the 23-24 and the 2024-25 budget, and then the difference column. This is all resources, all funds. And one of the things that we want to show you in this year's change budget is that there's $187 million less in resources available to the district this year. That is largely related to spending down our bond. The majority of this is that amount. And then the next largest portion, accounting for the majority of this, is the loss of federal recovery funding. So this is how we get into a situation where we've dropped $187 million between the last and this year. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, table 2 is on page 32. It's also on 93, but just for ease of our tour, I think it's easiest if everybody goes to page 32. This shows general fund resources budgeted to personnel. As a reminder, the general fund is our largest most important and most flexible funding source. This is the funding that we get from the state. And what we want to show you here is the change in personnel costs in the general fund between last and this year. And what you can see is that this year's budget is $1.7 million less in personnel costs. Can you go to the next slide, please? And table 3, which is on page 96, explains part of the reason why. In our general fund, 300 of the 377 FTE is the source of the reduction. Let me say that better. Of the 377 FTE that we'll be reducing as part of our reduction in force, 300 of them are coming from the general fund. And this point bears a little bit of attention because these reductions resulted in a net savings of $1.7 million in personnel. What that means is that we're cutting 300 FTE from the general fund and achieving almost no financial savings from it. And that is because increased labor costs. Many times over the course of the year, we said that our staff deserve more, better compensation, and we were so grateful to be able to deliver that. And we also said our system can't afford it. When you reduce 300 FTE from your largest funding source and achieve almost no savings as a result, this is part of what we were talking about. This is part of the work we have to do in the future. Okay, next slide, table 4. Grants fund, so this is, you'll go backwards now, I apologize, to page 37. On page 37, you'll see a $58 million and change drop in our grants fund, and that's under federal sources. This is the loss of ESSER. You can see how many aspects of this budget story connect back to the mismatches we discussed at the beginning. Next slide, please. Table 5, debt service, PERS debt service. This is on page 38. In round 1, one of the things we brought forward was a recommendation to reduce the amount that we were paying in, not to PERS, but to PERS debt service. It's the fund that we use to pay our PERS liability. And it's because we have been proactively funding PERS at a rate that anticipates rate changes in the future. The adjustment you see here, page 38, local sources, the difference between the 31 and the 22, this is a result of that adjustment. And the reason that we are bringing it to you today is because we do not want there to be any surprise later. There will be a point where we have to adjust this dial back again. PERS rates will increase. We retain a cushion in our debt service account. But in a year or two, I will be standing here saying, we have to increase this again. And we may not like that moment. But right now, we are trading in the urgency of the present for the anticipated needs of the future. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, no more slides, but I do have 2 more things that I want to take you through. Okay, so if you guys could please go in your book to, excuse me, I have to find my tabs. Page, thank you, page 16, actually. We're going to start on 16 and then immediately go to 16 and to 17. Page 16 has got a chart on the bottom that says enrollment and percentage of employee types. This graph is an important one for all of us to understand. It provides the greater detail on the points I was making earlier about the net increase in staffing since 2007. The key things that I want to point out to you all as budget committee members here is that while our staffing levels are going up as our enrollment levels are going down, two other things are happening that demand our attention. The first is that every employee group, classified, licensed, and administrative numbers are going up. But the proportions are starting to shift. And this is what you can see here. Over time, there is a faster rate of increase of classified employees than there is a rate of increase of licensed employees or administrators. No group is experiencing declines in this story. It's just a matter of how fast every group is expanding compared to the others. These are material changes in the footprint of our workforce. And any material change in the footprint of our workforce is a material change in the footprint of our budget. For page 17, which is ratios, and then a following page on Salem-Keizer Licensed Association targets, I'm actually going to turn it over to a combination of our deputy superintendents, starting with Olga Cobb.
Thank you. Let's see if I can move these. Thank you, Superintendent Castañeda. In page 18, you can see an Salem-Keizer Education Association shared with us the targets that they were suggesting for the district. And so we included that chart in here with the information as a way to acknowledge that SKEA has identified these targets as priorities for class size in our district. And you'll see the numbers there for each of the grade levels and each of the assignments. Something important to say about staffing and ratios is that we staff schools based on these ratios that you see in page 17. After that, based on the ratios and of course on enrollment. After that, we did the exercise that Superintendent Castañeda described to you last time at the board meeting, which is give allocations to schools and ask schools to give us their first staffing scenarios. Then they give us back those staffing scenarios, telling us here's what class size will look like at my school at the elementary level. And then at secondary, Deputy Superintendent Udo Senata will explain here's how many classes we're gonna have for core math and how many classes we're gonna have for electives. And then we adjusted, Superintendent Castañeda shared with you 15 FTE based on that feedback that we received from our schools. At the elementary level, something important for us to consider is that in the past 2 years, we had FTE that we were able to provide schools because of ESSER funding. And that FTE allowed us to reduce class size in K2, grades kinder, first and second grade, and a little bit in third grade in some cases. That funding goes away this year. So for next year, what we have we have allocated FTE based on these ratios. Principals have done first scenarios for staffing. And what we will see is that we'll have maybe some more blends that we've had in the past because, again, we removed some additional FTE that we had before. And then we may see some grade levels experiencing a few more students than other grade levels. The ratios, again, that we started with have not changed. It's just the function of schools placing students in the grade levels and with the teachers that needs to happen and needs to be revised throughout the summer. So we will stay really close to that process and we'll continue to monitor class size.
That was well said by Deputy Superintendent Cobb. The only additions that I have for the secondary level is that while the ratios are staying the same, class sizes are going to increase. The range of how the class sizes increase at both level, at middle school will range depending on the school, depending on our enrollment, somewhere between 2.5 kids per core class to about 5 kids per core class. Again, that's depending on the school. At the high school, you may see more significant changes, class size increases at the core level as well. And that range is anywhere between, again, depending on the school, the range is between around about 6 and depending on the subject and 10. So it really just depends. There's a lot of variables that go into master scheduling, which is why you see such a drastic range at the high school level. We were very conscious of the level of our core classes increasing at the middle school. And Deputy Superintendent Cobb noted that we added back 15. That's so we can stabilize the amount that our class sizes are rising in those areas, especially with math, science, and language arts. We did this after we did some initial models for what our classes could look like. We also want to give attention to PE. We have state requirements related to PE, and we want to bring PE sizes down. And so we added some staffing to that area as well.
Thank you. The reason that we spent additional time on this is that class size is a really important issue. It's an important issue to our families, it's an important issue to our staff. There is no way to have budget reductions at the scope we are facing and protect everything. In the list that we provided you earlier, we did shelter elementary ratio. And we are doing our best with middle and high, but there are increases that we feel is important for everyone in our community to know, and to know that we're going to monitor it very carefully as enrollment stabilizes over the summer and into the fall. The final pit stop on our budget book that I want to share with you before we close this portion out is on page 22, and these are the budget assumptions. We do not need to go through all of these budget assumptions, but there is a key one that I want to show you. This includes a budget assumption of a general fund, a beginning fund balance of 87 million. And that number is what is saving us next year. We did a lot of work to make adjustments to the current fiscal year, the one that we are in, to push that ending fund balance up, because we knew that the health of next year's ending fund balance was dependent on this one. This is one-time money. This is the savings account. The more we go to the savings account to address anything that has a year-over-year cost, the more we're ratcheting open the expense revenue gap for next year. So with this, you have now gotten your first orientation to the budget book. And what we want to ask you to do, because we know that we're already 5-10 minutes over time right now, is ask you to spend time with it and bring questions to us. This meeting did not afford time for discussion because there was so much content. The coming meetings do. We look forward to these important discussions, the ones that we'll have about these decisions, how hard they were, how necessary they are. And we'll do our best to be clear and frank stewards of your and everyone's experience as we travel through this budget season. And with that, I will hand it back to one of the two chair people. I'm actually not sure.
I think it's me.
Okay.
And it's my job to adjourn. And I just want to say very, very briefly to the members of this group, I have been down this road before. It is enormously difficult and enormously emotional. And I want to say to our staff and teachers, classified administrators, and students, know you're valued, and we are truly sorry for the impact this budget will have on your lives. And with that, we're adjourned, and we will meet again on Tuesday and have much more opportunity for discussion.
Check, check. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is May 7th, 2024, and the board meeting was called to order earlier at 4:30, with the board going directly into executive session under the following ORS. Oregon Revised Statute 192.6602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, and ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. It is now 7:13 p.m., and we're reconvening our meeting with the public session, which is a business session. This evening, we have Director Lisa Harnish, Vice Chair Cynthia Richardson, Director Chandra Giri, and Director Chrissy Hudson, both who are joining us virtually this evening. We will go ahead and jump in. I recognize that we are a couple minutes behind our agenda and we have quite a few things to get through, so we are going to keep our cadence flowing. With that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Superintendent for a superintendent report.
Thank you. Yes, that was a fast switcheroo here, and now we're back in regular business meeting, and there are some things that I'd like to offer as part of superintendent's comments. As much as what we just talked about was difficult, there are things to celebrate. There are so many things to celebrate right now. And I'm going to touch on just a few of them. So first, May 1st was the National Principals Day, and we just want to honor and acknowledge the incredible work that they do.
I got ahead of myself, and because we had a budget meeting, I missed the land acknowledgement and Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm actually going to take us back if that's okay with you.
Yes, let's do that.
I am so sorry. Lisa, would you mind reading the land? I think you were ready.
I was
Land
totally
acknowledgement.
Absolutely. Here's our land acknowledgement for this evening. We are gathered today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day, and we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and the strength of all Native American and Indigenous people.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance with the morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I actually skipped a significant portion of our agenda. So with that, actually double checking any agenda modifications other than the ones I just made.
No.
All right. So we're actually going to go into spotlights on success and start with the positive note of our meeting. So back to you, Superintendent.
Well, principals deserve to be celebrated twice, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. They really are like so hardworking and committed and spectacular. And just on Friday night, I gave one a call. It was 7 o'clock on a Friday night, and she was still in her school doing all the hard work. So we celebrate them and recognize their contributions. And with that, I also want to move us over to our probably most favorite part of every agenda, which is Spotlight. So I will introduce Sonia Vasquez, the Community School Outreach Coordinator for Waldo, and I will also introduce Deputy Superintendent Olga Cobb. Wait. No. Sorry, Sonia Bosquez to present the community spotlight. Olga will be next. Sonia, are you here? Thank you.
You can join us up ahead at the table, and the mic should be on.
Good evening, board members, directors, and student advisors. Tonight, I want to recognize a local agency for the care and generosity they display to the youth in our community. Heart to Souls is a nonprofit establishment that has provided much-needed shoes to students in our district and community. They have worked hard to make sure that every child that comes across them walks away with not just a vital resource, but also with the confidence that every child deserves. Unboxing Day is an event that Heart to Souls hosts. Youth in foster care or who have very high needs, are the ones that are elected to participate. What's unique about the shopping invitation is that shoes are free to the invited student. Plus, the shoe selection includes name brand shoes that many of these students would not imagine to own one day. I will be participating at this year's unboxing event, as I did last year. This allows me to watch firsthand the great and positive impact this experience has on our community's youth and families. After receiving this type of support, parents are always thankful, but what's more touching to me is they come to me with more trust and are able to share their struggles and ask for assistance if it's needed. As Waldo Seesock, I worry about my students, and I'm constantly looking for resources to better support them. Knowing that Heart to Soul supports my students, their families, and our community lessens my anxiety and gives me hope. Micah, Brian, and Heart to Soul staff, your support and your kindness have impacted my students, their confidence, and their ability to trust. On behalf of Waldo Middle School and all the Waldo families you've helped, we thank you for all the help you've done for our community and our school. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we'll join you right over here for a photo.
Good evening, Chair Guzman Ortiz, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Castañeda. This evening, I have the privilege of highlighting an extraordinary partnership that has had a profound impact on our elementary schools and the broader community. Grassroots After School Soccer Program, GRASP, is led by the dedicated efforts of Mike Cohen, GRASP Program Director, Robert Garcia from Salem Leadership Foundation, and Colin Box, Executive Director of Capital Football Club. Their collective vision and commitment to providing enrichment activities for our students have transformed the landscape of elementary school soccer programs in our district. Structured training sessions and competitive play provide students with invaluable lessons in perseverance and resilience, fostering a growth mindset that extends far beyond the soccer field. Moreover, the inclusive nature of the GRASP program has significantly increased our students' sense of belonging, attendance, and connection to their schools and community, addressing critical goals in our diverse district. We cannot overstate the positive impact that GRASP and its team of dedicated coaches on our students' development has had. by providing a nurturing environment that supports both physical and social emotional well-being. GRASP lays the foundation for our students' future success, both on and off the field. Data collected from parent and guardian feedback underscores the immense value that GRASP has in our community. After surveying 113 families, we found that 95% of respondents cited multiple reasons for their child's participation, including improved physical health, positive connections with peers and school, increased motivation, and learning of sports skills. Thank you again to GRASP, Mike Cohen, Robert Garcia, Colin Boggs, and their entire team for their unwavering dedication to our students and community. Your partnership exemplifies the power of collaboration in creating meaningful opportunities for our youth, and we are immensely proud to recognize your contributions tonight.
Okay, so now moving on to our staff spotlight. I would like to introduce Melissa Glover, Director of Student Services, and Callie Owings, Student Service Coordinator.
Good evening, Chair Guzman-Ortiz, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. We are here to honor Amanda Burke, Sean Doman, Steve Adams, and Hemingway for their time and energy they dedicated to the success of the 3rd annual Unified Ollie Cup Basketball Skills Clinic and Tournament a few weeks ago. This event celebrates the spirit of inclusivity in our schools, bringing together students from diverse backgrounds to engage in a day of games and sportsmanship.
Amanda Burke, our district instructional mentor that leads the work of unified programs across our schools, and Sean Doman, a Sprague Unified teacher, spearheaded the planning and organization of this year's tournament. Their vision and commitment to creating an inclusive environment were evident in every aspect of the event, from the skills clinic and tournament events to the unified coffee and concessions run by Ole Lounge students.
Steve Adams and Hemingway, owners of the PAC Center, played a critical role in ensuring the success of the event by generously donating the facility for our use. Their unwavering support for inclusive activities highlighted the importance of creating opportunities for students of all abilities to participate and thrive. Ultimately, this event welcomed 400 students and their families, 45 staff members, and 15 volunteers. Through their dedication and hard work, Amanda, Sean, Steve, and Hemingway provided students experiencing disabilities the chance to engage in competitive athletic events, fostering a sense of belonging among everyone in attendance.
We want to express our gratitude to Amanda, Sean, Steve, and Hemingway for their unwavering efforts in organizing and supporting events that truly embody the spirit of inclusive and welcoming school communities. Their commitment to creating opportunities for all students is truly an example of the values we hold dear in our district.
Thank you. All right, one more round of photos over there.
Have one more?
Okay, our final spotlight of tonight, and this is a thick stack, so this is going to be a good one. I would like to ask Laura Lete, did I say that right? Okay, Laura Lete and Jamie Peters, who are PAs, and they'll be presenting our student spotlight tonight.
Good evening, Chair Guzman Ortiz, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. My name is Laura Lete.
And my name is Jamie Peters, and we work within the Curriculum and Instruction Department. We've had the pleasure of organizing, running, and helping with the math competitions that we're here to spotlight tonight.
Tonight, we have the privilege of recognizing the exceptional achievements of our students from across the district in the field of mathematics.
Throughout the month of April, students from across our district participated in 3 distinct competitions, each offering a unique opportunity for students to test their mathematical knowledge. From the 24 Challenge at the elementary level, to the Pentagames for middle schoolers, and the Shemeketa Regional Mathematics Competition for our high school students, our students have consistently displayed their talent and determination.
The following students have showcased remarkable dedication and skill in the realm of mathematics. The local math contests provide a platform for students to not only demonstrate their proficiency, but also to challenge themselves beyond the standard curriculum.
So we'd like to recognize Kyler Moisan from Optimal Learning Environments and Lily Navarro from Lamb Elementary, who were winners of the 24 Challenge in the 4th and 5th grade levels respectively.
Matthew Van Fleet and Francisco Saldana Cabrera from Hauk Middle School triumphed in the Pentagames for 7th and 8th grades, along with Lily Christensen from Crossler Middle School, who excelled in the Algebra Open category.
And we'd like to extend additional congratulations to the team from South Salem High School, who secured the overall first place in the Shemeketa Regional Mathematics Competition.
We are particularly proud of the effort exhibited by these students as they have surpassed the expectations at each of their respective grade levels. Their participation in these events speaks volumes about their commitment to excellence and their passion for learning.
And we'd also like to extend our appreciation to the teachers, principals, building support staff, and volunteers who played a critical role in supporting these mathematics competitions. Your dedication has undoubtedly contributed to these students' success, and we're grateful to your commitment to their academic excellence.
We would once again like to extend our congratulations to the 2024 top finishers in our local math contests. Your achievements serve as an inspiration to your peers and a testament to your hard work for you and your families and the exceptional teachers who support your math learning every day in our district. We are immensely proud of each and every one of you.
We're all good. Okay. Yep. So we'll do a few pictures. Here's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to everyone. It's always wonderful to have the opportunity to celebrate. And I just want to say, I didn't get the cool T-shirt memo. Many folks had, T-shirts on theme, and that was really neat. So great to see all the swag. But I have stickers now. All right, we'll go ahead and jump back in onto our next agenda item, which is the superintendent's report. This time it is.
This time, for real. So continuing on our sort of theme of celebrations, there just is an enormous amount of exciting things that are happening and are about to happen in our school system. And this has been such a spectacularly successful music season that I actually don't think I'm going to read every single winner, except to say that Salem-Keizer really kind of cleaned up this year. And the amount of pride our community has in McKay, West, South, Leslie, Hauk, so many others for all of the incredible musical accomplishments this season. And there's more to come. So I'm sure when we are together next, we'll be continuing this long list of accomplishments. I also want to acknowledge and celebrate the fact that this is Teacher Appreciation Week and Staff Appreciation Week. And there are things happening in all of our buildings. I walked into a building today and the principal's office was literally stuffed almost to the door with snacks because they have snack bars going every day. I've seen red carpets. I've seen surprises. It's been a week that we really did, even amidst hard things, recognize and celebrate one another. And I think it is in moments that are hard that celebration is even more important. We don't stop celebrating during hard times. In fact, that's when we lean in. And those of you who have been part of it, you've seen all of the warmth and love. And I just want to thank everyone, every parent, every staff member, every administrator, every student who helped acknowledge our amazing staff this week. And with that, I am going to actually move us along and I'll hand it back to you.
Great. We'll jump in onto public comment at this time. I have a list of 6 names, but before I jump in, I'll just go through our process real quickly, which reminder, speakers are selected at random when we have more than the 30 minutes of speaking time, but we've provided up to 30 minutes of public comment time this evening. Our commenters this evening are all in person, and each participant has 3 minutes. Electronic mechanisms are used for translation, so please just be mindful of pace. And we'll have the countdown on the screen from 3 minutes to a minute, and then the 30-second before the timer goes off. The board receives all written comment ahead of the meeting as well, and that is posted on the district website. I'll go ahead and call the first name, which is Ronald Pereira, followed by Marilyn Ellis. And the microphone should be on, so no need to hold any buttons this evening.
Hello, should I just begin?
Go ahead.
Thank you for having me here today. By the way, I'm a retired school teacher from Oakland and San Francisco. I come to you with this issue that's very important, and I'd like to commend you at hearing all the work that you guys do. It's a lot, and you should be commended for it. This issue I have, I'll just go right on in. There was a high school girl that was taunted. She was a black girl. She was taunted with the use of the N-word and threatened by a group of boys who eventually assaulted her, and one of them punched her. She was sent to a continuation school, and She got counseling, and she has mental stress issues as a result of that. There's a national increase in hate crimes towards Black people in America currently that's outrageous and unacceptable and very heartbreaking. Oregon and Salem has a history of exclusion. Oregon was founded and Salem was founded, and very proud of its exclusionary history. And it is unaccommodating to Black people and xenophobic to Black culture. There has been and continues to be instances and reports of, in the Salem-Keizer Unified School District, of racial intolerance and the use of the N-word. Kevin Bragg Law Firm in Portland, Oregon, is suing the Portland Public School District in 2 lawsuits addressing individuals, students who were targeted with the use of racism and the N-word repeatedly, and there was a reluctance or somewhat of an acceptance, no enforcement of the no tolerance policy. There should be real consequences. I was told that you have a no tolerance policy of this treatment of Black people, but which principals have been removed, which teachers have been written up, which students have been suspended or expelled, and which staff members have been fired? Where's the teeth? Where's the enforcement? Where is the evidence and where's the documentation of this mistreatment of an already very marginalized and harmed population, African American people? If you're aware, you are aware that these civil rights violations occur to Black people in your district, and you do not enforce the no tolerance, and this is why I will be suing the school district to enforce that you do, because I have no tolerance or no patience.
Thank you, Ronald. I just want to acknowledge your time is up.
Was that the end?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you listening today.
Thank you, absolutely. Appreciate your time. Marilyn Ellis and then Brandy Balas.
Good evening, board directors and superintendent. My name is Marilyn Ellis. I'm a high school teacher and I'm currently serving as the SKEA vice president. I don't think it'll be any surprise to you or anyone in the audience for me to tell you that the majority, if not the entirety of the Salem-Keizer staff is on edge and feeling a high level of anxiety. We've been on edge since the beginning of the year as we persevered through bargaining and delays and bad news budget messages. Budget concerns and layoffs are no longer just the stuff of nightmares. They're real and they're here. And that's why I'm here. I don't pretend to know a better way of going about dealing with this or sharing information. I just know that I see signs of stress, significant stress on the faces of my colleagues every day, and I hear it in their voices every day. It's been a tough year. I know that you're aware that it's Teacher Appreciation Week because I've heard you speak of it. I want to talk about something that happened this morning, but I'll preface that by saying I don't disagree with much of what the superintendent said in her earlier budget message. I think most of it is absolutely necessary and accurate. Where I disagree are some of the priorities and where we are identifying and determining those cuts. On one of the slides that the superintendent showed tonight, it said licensed staff, the different areas where cuts were being proposed. The top one was licensed staff at $28 million. These are the people who directly serve students in classrooms, and that is my concern. So I'm going to use an example from today to illustrate that concern and then say a tad more. This morning, because it was Teacher Appreciation Week, the superintendent provided a letter to all teachers perhaps to all licensed staff, but I only heard from teachers. It was handwritten and then copied. And while I appreciate the sentiment and the personal touch of the handwritten note, I also know that this required more than 2,000 copies. And you're probably thinking, why in the world is Marilyn worried about numbers of copies when we're talking about millions and millions of dollars? And you're right. Fewer copies are not going to solve this budget crisis, but it reflects the choices and decisions that are consistently made in this district. This would have required more than 2,000 copies. Many years I was allowed no more than 1,000 copies per year for all of my students, and I had over 200. The point I want to make is that we know resources are limited and the choices are hard. I'm sure if there were easy choices, those were made right away. Our ask is that anything that takes resources or people from classrooms be given strong consideration for continuation. Cuts that hit our classrooms hurt so much.
Thank you. Brandy Balas, and then we have Kelsey Miller.
Good evening, board directors and superintendent. My name is Brandy Ballas. I'm a founding teacher at Edge High School, an SKPS parent and community member of Salem. I love Salem. This is where I intended on setting down my roots and creating the home to which my children would someday return. As my eldest son nears his graduation from South Salem High School, my younger son nears his kindergarten registration at Highland Elementary, I am considering moving out of Salem solely so my children can attend schools elsewhere. Because our increasingly low enrollment contributes to the budget crisis, it serves those attending today to understand why my family would be willing to move away from our home, our friends, and our community as you may gain insight to why our district is hemorrhaging students. Our underfunded schools struggle with out-of-control behaviors, safety issues, and prohibitively high class sizes that disrupt the learning of too many students, while our leadership has maintained a bloated bureaucracy in place of the on-the-ground resources we need. We've been told the source of our budget problem is an outdated legislative budgetary calculation, yet 1 year prior to this crisis, admin approved the purchase of district vehicles and matching furniture for a renovated office. We've been told that the district admin graciously put a freeze on their raises, a gesture soured when the year before admin gave themselves average raises of over 14%, totaling $337,000, which alone would cover the salary of 5 teachers. As the district has struggled to adequately address the issues within our schools, EDGE has been an innovative solution. In the beginning, we were a refuge to families afraid to return to in-person schooling after the pandemic. Though our demographic has changed, we are still a school adapting to the needs of our community, still a refuge for families who might otherwise remove their students from SKPS altogether. Some families join us because of an underserved learning need. 31% of our students speak a language other than English at home. 26% receive special education services. 7% are on a modified diploma pathway. Too many have been so bullied that they no longer feel safe attending their home school. All of these and more have found their home at EDGE. And now, here we are in a budget crisis, laying off 224 teachers, and EDGE, despite being a state-of-the-art program serving a high-need population, is losing 28% of its staff, of its licensed staff. District leadership, please adjust your spending. Invest in those who directly serve students. Preserve programs like EDGE that successfully serve our families. Perhaps as you invest in these things, that more families could find their home in Salem-Keizer Public Schools. Thank you.
Kelsey Miller, and then Jennifer Woods. And Tyler will be our final comment.
Good evening. My name is Kelsey Miller. I had a whole thing prepared, and I think I'm going to scrap it, so bear with me. I am also a teacher at Edge. I teach in our middle school program there. I'm a science teacher. Like Brandy, I was one of our founding members of Edge 4 years ago. As Brandy just mentioned, last week we learned that 28% of our licensed staff was going to be cut for next year. We also learned that 17% of our classified staff was going to be cut for next year. We are already operating at bare bones as a program. Every single year since our inception, we have had significant cuts and changes to our staffing structure and to our program as a whole. We serve over 1,000 students district-wide from literally every corner of our school district, and we serve a very high needs population, as Brandy just outlined for you. Reducing our staff by 28% and 17% respectively is going to significantly change the level of service we can provide next year. We will do it because we are amazing. Our administrators are incredible. Our staff is incredible. And I'm honored to be part of that staff. But I'm terrified because I don't know if I'll get to be part of that staff again next year. We serve students and families, as Brandy said, who would otherwise find other places to go. We have brought families back from online charter schools. We have returned families to this district. Last month, I asked you a question. I asked you what's going to happen next. And I beg of you to consider that question again tonight. We know change has to happen. We understand that. We are very intelligent people. We can read the budget documents. We understand. But as we continue to rebuild and move forward as a district, I urge you to consider the innovation and the creativity and the absolute amazing work happening with our program, happening in every program around the district. These unique opportunities that serve our diverse families, that provide innovation in a public school system that hasn't innovated much for 200 years, in a time when, as Superintendent, you said earlier, things have changed dramatically in the last 10 years. And we are doing this work, and we are busting our butts to create from the ground up what is now a leading program in our state as far as K-12 public online education. We are leading the way after just 4 years. So I beg of you, as we rebuild, invest in this program, invest in our families that need this program, and give us a chance.
Thank you. Jennifer Woods, and then Tyler Scala-Lakeberg. Is Jennifer with us? Okay. All right.
Good evening, Board Chair, Directors, some of our Budget Committee still. I'm Tyler Scala-Lakeberg, and I'm speaking as President for the Salem-Keizer Education Association. Tonight, we honor our teachers as part of our Teacher Appreciation Week. I want to thank every teacher that shows up daily to serve our students, regardless if they're sick, if it's raining, or snowing, or icing, or whatever it is. They show up and provide their best every day. I also want to thank our district leaders and our board for honoring our teachers this week as well with the proclamation that will be coming later in this agenda. Unfortunately, this week is being shadowed by the reduction announcements that will be coming out next week. We understand enrollment has been down. I appreciate the superintendent's comments tonight because while enrollment has been declining, the student need has been growing. Our state needs to fund our schools better. The fact that we have to make cuts implies that adequate staffing is a luxury instead of the necessity that it is. And SKA is ready to stand in solidarity and collaboration with the district as we advocate for better funding for our schools. Our students deserve more. But with that said, here we are facing cuts. As a board, it's been clear that student learning is a priority. Sense of well-belonging is a priority. And yet, licensed staff is bearing the brunt of these reductions. And out of that group, classroom teachers are the largest group to be cut. Those two things are in conflict. Our teachers, those who work directly with our students, are the key success, the key ingredient for student success. We know that there are some difficult decisions to be made, other choices that need to be considered. At our district level, we have a lot of programs that will be maintained, and while they are important, nothing is more critical than having a teacher in front of our students. The fact that class size will be increasing is devastating. I believe it was said 6 to 10 students in a high school class. If you visited some of our high schools, right now they're bursting at the seams. And if you start in September, you will see large groups show up, and at this time of year, class size is not as big a deal. That's our dropout rate. And if we put 10 more kids in a classroom, that's 10 more kids probably that won't make it because they won't have that connection. I'm going to be asking as we go with our board and our budget committee to reconsider some of our choices and make a budget for next year that aligns the priorities of student learning and value in our staff. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who was present here this evening for public comment. That is the last on our list. We can proceed to the next items on our agenda or take a 5-minute break. I just kind of want to get a feel from folks. You need a break? All right, we're going to go ahead and proceed. Kind of the census for those who are joining us virtually. If you need to step away and take a quick break, please do. We're just going to keep moving forward this evening. The next portion of the agenda is an overview of candidates for student advisor to the school board. This is just a verbal overview of this process. The student advisors to the school board interview and selection process has opened, and the application process has closed. The board opened the application process from March 20th to April 18th and received a total of 5 applications. Prior to the June 11th board meeting, we will, as a board, review the applications and video interview submissions. And those are available in our packets and are also available to the public in the board meeting materials. At the June 11th board meeting, we'll go ahead and vote and elect up to 2 candidates for the student advisor positions to serve for the next school year. So just want to give appreciation to everyone who applied and just remind board members that those materials are available and for your review prior to the June 11th board meeting. Moving on now to, and we don't have our student advisors here, I just want to note, so it's, I'd love to hear their take in that, but we'll have more opportunities to connect with them. We'll go ahead and transition into our action items, which is the adoption of several curriculums, but I will go ahead and we'll kind of do this we'll get one overview and then call several votes. The first readings for our next curriculum-related items took place in our board meeting back in April, and they're back this time for a vote. So I'll hand it back to Superintendent Cobb to provide us with a brief overview to reorient all of us back to these different curriculums before we go ahead and take a vote for each one.
Thank you so much, Chair Guzman-Ortiz, board members, and Superintendent Castañeda. I am here, like you said, for our second reading in hopes for a vote of approval for our adoption materials that we'll discuss in the next couple of minutes. We brought you last month the first reading for adoption curriculum for English language arts in high school at different levels. That includes AP classes in our core curriculums. Also for our curriculum for math in middle school, and then newcomer language, English language development materials. Next slide, please. In this next slide, I just want to provide you with a little bit of a review of the process. It's a very comprehensive process that includes groups of teachers that are helping us decide on what materials are best for the students that they serve. We start with getting a group of people together, forming the committee, and then helping them create a vision of what we're looking for and what our students need. It also includes an evaluation of the state required list of materials. The state usually curates a list of materials that they recommend for schools in districts, and we look through those materials and figure out which ones are best for our students. And then after those are chosen, we pilot those materials in some schools. The schools at the bottom, you see all the symbols of our middle and high schools that tried these materials in the past year. Then there are lots of opportunities for feedback from teachers, from students, from the community around the materials. And then we come to a final conversation that we had about 3 weeks ago, where teachers give us their, we look at the surveys, because we send out surveys for students and for staff, and then invite community members to give us feedback. We look through that feedback, and then finally teachers in the committee vote. That recommendation was what was brought to you last month, and then in the next slide, I'll remind you of those recommendations. So for the total adoptions, we recommend Bedford-Freeman for high school language arts, 9th, 10th, and 11th. The 11th grade. Then we have HMH for English language launch, and that is the language development curriculum that we would like to use in our newcomer centers. The second set of materials for English language development, I want to remind you also, I shared last time, we had a full round of pilot for 2 sets of other resources, and the teacher said that those were not good enough. And so we went back out and found these material, and then we had unanimous votes for this set of materials. And then we have math middle school, and that is a very important selection for us. For some of these resources, we haven't adopted curriculums for years. 2007 is the earliest we've had curriculum in front of students for math. And those are for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then just to finish some of the comments from teachers were the welcome change to have materials that are research-based and are ready for them, so they don't have to be the ones creating all the lessons. And that is an added layer of work that they have done for years, and they're ready for these materials that are going to be provided for them if you approve these today.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Cobb. At this point, we'll go ahead and move into calling motions, seconds, discussions, and votings for the 5 different curriculums. So just want to make sure that the board members are clear. We're going to do this 5 times because we have to do it for each one. Right? Okay, we don't get to just clump them all today. So we'll start with the first one. Do I have a motion to adopt the AP Literature High School English Language Arts curriculum as proposed?
Yes, Chair.
All right.
Move that we adopt the curriculum as proposed.
Thank you. We have a first from Director Chandagiri. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All right, and we have a second. Do we have discussion?
Chair.
Go ahead, Director Chandagiri.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate the thorough process that has been followed, and good involvement of the community and the need for changes. Superintendent Cobb, you pointed out that 2007 was the last time they had a mathematics curriculum adopted. And often with the changes in the world and changes in the field, how often do we get to adopt curriculum or update it? Because the rest of the world has gone ahead. The field has changed so much. And if so, because there is a budgetary implication to adoption of curriculum, but how often is it recommended, or should we be thinking of updating our curriculum to reflect the changes in the world in STEM field, etc.?
The state has different adoption cycles that can go from 3 to 7 years. And so districts have to follow those cycles. Something important about that for Salem-Keizer is that we have been off the cycle, obviously, because we haven't adopted for math and for literacy in a long time. So this helps us start getting closer to the cycle that ODE requires of state, of all the districts in the state.
Do we have to follow that cycle recommended by the ODE, or if we think that the field has changed, are we allowed to locally update our curriculum to reflect the changes in math or science or STEM field or literature?
Yes, the adoption cycle is part of Division 22 rules that we have to report on every year for ODE. And in those, we tell them, here's our plan to renew or adopt a new curriculum. Here's a plan to update a curriculum. If we're not ready for a full adoption, then here are some renewals that we're going to do. So we have to communicate with them about the quality and the adoption of the materials that we are offering our students. And they have to align with their requirements.
But we do have the freedom to update it if necessary, is that right?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Yes, to look for the materials that are right for our students, but they provide us with the initial list, and then we pick from that list.
Thank you.
Thank you. And any other comments, discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and proceed to a vote. All those in favor of, do I have to restate? No, I don't have to restate. Okay. All those in favor of adopting the AP Literature High School English Language Arts curriculum as proposed, please raise your hand and state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. All right, that was all in favor. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one, and I just want to welcome Director Hinojosa Fresi and Second Vice Chair Carson Cottingham, who have just joined us. We will go ahead and move on to the adoption of the, sorry, I'm a little confused. Do I have a motion to adopt the high school English language arts curriculum as proposed?
I'd like to make
a point of order. I thought we are doing for everything together, didn't we?
No, we're doing one at a time.
So what did we vote then?
We just did the AP Literature High School English Language Arts curriculum.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's the
AP High School.
Yeah, it's actually action item B on our agenda, so we're a little out of order, but we'll sort it out. So that was the first one we just voted on, so we're now moving on to the high school English language arts.
I move that we adopt the AP Language High School English Language Arts curriculum.
Thank you. We have a first from, thank you, Vice Chair Richardson, and a second from Director Chandragiri. Discussion on this item? Seeing none. Oh, Director Hudson, did you have your hand raised?
Thank you, yes. I just wanted to use this opportunity. I know we've discussed a bit in the past, not amongst the public, but when Deputy Olga Cobb was going through and discussing ODE and the process of curriculum that we have to propose it to ODE, I was wondering if someone wouldn't mind explaining again, is it just ODE always that we're permitted to obtain or adopt our curriculum from, or do we get to talk about, the other processes, how it might work if we ever deviated from ODE. We go through them, I'm guessing, because that's where the funding comes from. So if we could ever touch on what that would look like if we chose to, and if we have the right and ability to deviate from ODE. Does that question make sense?
It does. Thank you, Director Hudson. I'll start and then probably kick it over to the deputy superintendents for more detail. I think your question was, do we have to go through the list that ODE publishes as the approved curricular resources and providers? And what happens if we don't? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Thank you.
So ODE starts with a pretty rigorous process that is really focused on curricular quality and alignment to our state standards. They then produce a vetted list that they release to school districts. They are not the providers themselves, they're the ones who distribute the list of approved providers. And then school districts like us take that list and go through our own review and adoption process. You've heard instances where we actually were not satisfied with what was on the OD list and came with counter proposals that reflected rigorous, standards-aligned, well-tested, research-based curriculum. So there is a way to make a counter proposal, but it does all still have to be done with and through the oversight of the Department of Education. Let me turn it over to the deputy superintendents for additions or edits.
An example of these, yes, thank you for that explanation. An example of these is our dual language curriculum. Because we are in a place of an advanced development in our implementation, and because of the experience we've had in the district and the training, ODE is working closely with us on the selection of some of these materials for dual language instruction. So there's that, there's an opportunity for us to lean in and provide some feedback and provide some supports also, and they have been really open to that collaboration with us.
Thank you. So about the piece about funding, so it has to filter back through ODE because that's where the funding to our district comes from to actually purchase that curriculum. Is that correct? Andrea, you ended with that.
They don't provide us the funding for it directly, but they do have regulatory oversight through Division 22 around high-quality instructional resources. The funding for it mostly comes from the district ourselves.
Okay, so we do have some leeway as to where and what, if we ever wanted to deviate outside of that. We get to choose where we apply our funding, if it jives with our teacher team and such, correct?
We still have to work through ODE as the regulatory body. It's our money, but it's their authority.
Okay, so if we came up with something, it would have to go up through ODE to approve, basically, to allow us to adopt it? Is that correct?
I'm going to kick this over to the resident experts and make sure we get this right.
Thank you.
We need to have an approved adoption cycle through ODE. That's a Division 22 requirement. And so one way, one option as the superintendent has shared to assure that we are fulfilling our obligation for high quality materials is utilizing that list. And if we don't use that list, then we need to provide explanation to the state for why we're opting out of that list or of approved materials, and be able to demonstrate that we are adopting a curriculum that meets the high standards.
Okay, so I'll talk about it more later, I guess, with Olga or whomever too. I was curious how that would work then, so I'll follow up to hear more details, and I appreciate you all. Thank you for those explanations in that time, honestly.
Just one addition that I want to make is it's very important that these materials, I think part of the process and the reason why they go through these rigorous examination before they get to the hands of a student is because they're closely tied also with the assessment systems that we use to make sure that our students are meeting all of the requirements we have to meet for them to reach the standards and then ultimately to graduate prepared. So that is why ODE needs to guarantee that all of the materials that are in front of students and that teachers are using have a lot of research, that have been tried, and that are specifically designed for the population that we serve. And then something else that I wanted to share that maybe is part of the question that you have, Director Hudson, is that for the district, we have a part of our funding called Asset Replacement Fund, and that is the little piece of money that we use to be able to pay for these curriculums that we adopt every year, and we put it in the budget and we plan ahead to make sure that our students ultimately and our teachers have the best materials in front of them to reach the goals of the district in educating them.
I respect all of that and that process. I remember hearing, I don't want to some teachers say, as far as voting, again, like you said, that just when they were dissatisfied. And so it's just nice to know to try to discuss other options if it's ever available, and to have everyone have knowledge of that so that everyone can use their voice if they have that idea or option, or a teacher that's on the committee is not afraid to step up and say, hey, guess what? You know, I found this other curriculum, this is awesome. And maybe everyone can incorporate that and collaborate together and find something even a little higher than what is coming across their board. I don't know how often that happens, like you just mentioned and I saw as well, where it's totally denied at sometimes by the teachers. But anyway, thank you. I just like I said, that we're here for the kiddos and the teachers to want, I think, to utilize the curriculum that they teach. That's essential of our schools, I suppose, and so I just, again, appreciate very greatly the discussion. So thank you for all the work you're always putting into that.
Thank you, Director Hudson. I see Director Nahos-Presley had their hand up.
Yeah, I think ultimately we kind of got where I was also thinking of trying to help to get to, because what I was hearing was also from Director Hudson was trying to understand how we would adopt curriculum materials if they weren't part of that ODE list. And I think I remember as having like sat in on some of these curriculum adoption committees, is that essentially that rigorous testing that ODE goes through for those curriculums, it would be something that our teachers would then essentially have to undertake while also like utilizing that curriculum. But I think Director Hudson got the answers that they wanted. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. If I remember correctly, we did this with the curriculum History Alive for middle school history classes, and I know Director Nahos-Presley and I sat in, and we heard from some teachers who said, well, we use this curriculum, why can't we use it again? It's not on the list, and so they went through that process. So I have that as an example of having seen that process outside of the ODE provided list and us moving forward with it. With that, I'll go ahead and transition us over to a vote because we have 3 more curriculum adoptions to move through. So all those in support of adopting the high school English language arts curriculum as proposed, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All right, I see 6 ayes. Director Hudson, I don't see your vote. Are you? All those
I don't know,
opposed?
I just didn't see this one, so I always am reluctant to vote if I didn't check it out. I feel.
Okay, so all those opposed, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Opposed. Abstentions? Are you abstaining, Director Hudson?
Okay, aye, it's fine, thank you.
Sorry, can you state how you're voting?
I vote to adopt the curriculum, thank you.
Thank you, so that's a unanimous for our notes. All right, moving on to make sure I have this right on the list. Adoption of the AP Language High School, adoption of AP Language High School English Language Arts Curriculum as proposed. Do I have a motion?
We did. I'll make the motion.
We did the high school, it's out of order, so we have an edit. The first one we did was the AP Literature, which was action item B, and then we did action item A. So we are now moving down to action item C. there is the typos in the talking agenda. Am I correct on this, Ashley? Okay. Yeah. So we are on what we have here as item C, the adoption of AP Language High School English Language Arts curriculum. Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt AP Language High School English Language Arts curriculum as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All right.
I second it.
First from Director Nojos Presi and second from Director Chandragiri. Discussion? Not hearing any. I'm going to go ahead and proceed us to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the curriculum as proposed, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. All right, all, that is 6. All those, if opposed, please raise your hand and say aye. Abstention.
I think I'm gonna oppose this one, sorry, just because I didn't check it out and I don't feel right voting for it.
All right. Thank you. So we have 6 in support and we have Director Hudson as a nay on this one. And we'll go ahead and move on to action item D now, adoption of middle school math curriculum as proposed. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the adoption of middle school math curriculum.
I second.
All right, we have Director Richardson as a first and Hudson as second. Discussion.
I was excited to see all the hard work they put into this, sorry.
Chair, I just have a discussion on this item.
Yes.
So, this is more than a discussion, just a suggestion that if there is a way moving forward, we could have a shorter cycle for mathematics and STEM field curriculum adoption, because the field changes so fast. And to kind of get our children caught up with what is happening globally, I think we should have a shorter cycle. And if possible, we may consider, our district should consider a standard that is even higher than ODE. Because ODE is a good one, but let's kind of think in terms of how do we prepare our children for the real world out there. It's very competitive. The field has gone so fast, so far ahead. So for our children to catch up so that when they go to the university, etc., or career technical fields, they will be much better prepared. So we're supporting this. So moving forward, just a suggestion.
Thank you, Director Chandragiri. Not seeing other comments, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this curriculum as proposed, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and that is a unanimous 7. Moving on to the last, second to last item, but last curriculum adoption, adoption of the newcomer English language development curriculum. Do we have a motion?
I move that we adopt the newcomer English language development curriculum.
I'll second. Vice Chair Richardson moves and second Vice Chair Carson Cunningham seconds. Discussion. Director Nojos Presi.
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to see this coming in. I'm really glad that we have some newcomer English language development curriculum and something that our teachers can use and not have to try and piecemeal some stuff together.
Absolutely. I agree. Thank you. We have had strong head nods in here, just super excited for this. I know it's been lots of work behind the scenes, and it sounds like the educators are really excited for this as well, so super eager. We'll go ahead and take a vote on this then. All those in support of approving the newcomer English language development curriculum as proposed, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's a unanimous 7. Thank you, everyone. I know that was a lot of curriculum adoptions, but we had to do one by one. Our last action item is the approval of the 2024 Transportation Supplemental Plan. The first reading for this item also took place at our last at our board meeting back in April and is now back to us for a vote. I will go ahead and take a motion to approve the 2024 Transportation Supplemental Plan, and then we can move into discussion. Oh, we have, yeah, you just popped onto the screen. Please, Bob Silva, if you want to provide an overview for this, it would actually be welcomed before we make a motion. So I'll kindly hand it off to you for a quick overview once more.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So this is brought back to you for a second read of the Transportation Supplemental Plan. If you remember, Salem-Keizer can transport students that live outside a 1 mile radius for elementary and 1.5 mile radius for secondary students. However, the state does provide a mechanism, which is the Transportation Supplemental Plan, for us to identify safety and health hazards and requests from the state to approve transportation within those radius. So in this case, with this year, we have some improvements that were made by the city of Salem that removed some of the safety hazards that were previously identified. So we're bringing this plan to you to submit to approve by resolution. Then we submit to ODE for approval to continue transporting within the plan.
Thank you so much for that quick overview. We will then go ahead. Do I have a motion to approve the 2024 Transportation Supplemental Plan as proposed?
I move that we approve the 2024 Transportation Supplemental Plan.
Thank you. We have a first. Do you have a second? I'll second. All right. Director Carson Cunningham seconds. Discussion on this item. Director Chowdhury?
Yeah, I just want to clarify from Mr. Silva or anyone, if that's all right, but Chair. This health and safety and the examples that are cited are sidewalk and things like that. But does the safety also include high crime density area where families are really scared to have their children walk through that and go to school or walk back? Would that qualify for less than 1 mile or 1.5 mile waiver? The second part is this is there a separate dedicated funding that we get for transportation, which I understand we get? Would that be used for helping those students?
So I'll take your second question first. There's not separate funding. It's all part of the state school fund, which includes the transportation grant as a separately identified grant within the state school fund distribution. So all transportation costs are covered by that. The resolution that you're voting on tonight does have the language in it that allows us to take into effect some of the safety issues that may be present in certain areas, and we do have an internal process when students like that are identified and raised to our attention that we can run through to add to the supplemental plan over time.
Thank you, Bob, for adding that. It's important.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. We'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor of adopting the 2024 Transportation Supplemental Plan, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous 7. Thank you so much, and thanks COO Silva for joining us. It was a pleasant surprise on screen. All right, we'll go ahead and move at this point onto our consent calendar. Superintendent Castañeda, would you like to provide any further review on any of these items?
No further review. I just want to, even though these proclamations are on consent, and especially because we're in Teacher Appreciation Week, I just want to take a moment to give us a chance to look at them, and in particular on the Teacher Appreciation Proclamation. It just connects to so much from what we heard from public comment today and even in our budget discussion. And there's one sentence I will pull out. Whereas this continues to be a challenging time to be an educator in the history of public education, with educators committed to meeting so many continued and emerging needs of our students, including the mental health needs of our students. There's more here, but they really are doing incredible work every day, and I wouldn't want this week to pass by without one more bite at the apple of appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At this point, I'd take a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Chair, I would like to pull out the Teachers' Appreciation Proclamation for discussion.
All right, so moving to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item B. All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item B? Oh, I guess that's Director Chandragiri. That's the first. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Oh no. We'll go ahead and move for a vote. Do I have, all those in favor of approving the consent calendar with the exception of item B, please raise your hand and state aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous 7 there. And so now we will move over to item B. Sorry, I always get tripped up on this. Which is the Teacher Appreciation Month proclamation. And Director Chandragiri, was there some additional clarity or
Yes, please, thank you.
statement on
I
this?
just want to say, thank you for letting me join from India. I didn't want to miss this, so I just got up at 4 in the morning and it's a breakfast time for us. So I just wanted to join and say thank you very much. This is very important and teachers make a difference. And during this Indian trip, I really went and got a chance to meet a teacher who taught me, who was my class teacher 48 years ago, just to share that appreciation. And she made a big difference that changed the life trajectory. And I believe that each and every teacher in our school district has that potential. For that, I'm really grateful. Really grateful. You make a big difference in our children. And thank you very much for all that you do. I wish the context and the circumstances were different, but please know that I and we all appreciate it. So I'll be supporting this, and I'm sure my colleagues will also support this. So I just wanted to recognize that that teacher played a major different role, and likewise, so many of our children are benefited because of what you do. So thank you. That relationship is so precious and valuable.
Thank you,
Just
Director.
wanted to make this comment. That's the reason I pulled this.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to proceed to approve the Teacher Appreciation Month proclamation?
Yes, yes.
We have a first from Director Chandragiri and a second from Director Hudson. Additional comments on this item? Thank you, Director Chandragiri. Oh, go ahead, Director Hudson.
Oh, sorry. Just again, just a reiteration, it's important for all of us to be able to share our heartfelt gratitude. Even when it's not always felt, I think it's more important to share. And so just thank you again. I'm sure for many of us. Bless you. Thanks, teachers.
Thank you. I'll take the opportunity now to just echo, appreciated the comments from Superintendent, both my colleagues on the board, and absolutely, I think what you said, Superintendent Castañeda, around even in these difficult times, or more so in these difficult times, it's really important to lean in and celebrate. And that sometimes it's that bittersweetness that we can feel at times, right, with celebrating the amazing educators. I know it's Spirit Week at my son's school, and that I can just imagine all of the celebrations. So he said to me this morning, "Mom, did you check the app? Because I don't know what I'm supposed to wear." And so I could just imagine that, and all of the joy from the kiddos and the teachers in leaning into celebration, even in these difficult times. But yes, Director Chandragiri, you said I think we can all think back to an educator that has made a lasting impact in our lives, and I know that there are several of those in mine as well. All right, well, we'll go ahead and take a vote on this one. All those in favor of approving item B, the Teacher Appreciation Month proclamation, please raise your hand and state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's a unanimous 7. And we will move on to the information and standard reports portion, which is a quick reminder that everything in this section is provided for the board's review ahead of the meeting and is available for the public to view also on the materials that are publicly posted. Anything, Superintendent, that needs to be? No. All right. Nothing there, and so we'll move on to the last section of our agenda, which is actually board reports. At this point, we will allocate some time for directors to share back on either formal committee assignments or activities related to youth programs or school district activities since our last board meeting. We should have enough time for all of us to share if you have something to share, so I will kind of open the floor. Oh, Director Hudson, please jump in. I see your hand.
Thank you. I'll just touch on briefly the level of spirit that came from the students that I had the pleasure of seeing regarding their music output from our Salem-Keizer district. It's always so wonderful. Sometimes it's hard to find words because of the love and the passion that exudes from their music. And I think that is one thing that Salem-Keizer for a very long time has been strong in, and I just appreciate that ongoing ability. I know that folks recently were afraid that some of that music would get cut, and we're thankful that it didn't, but no matter what, all hands on deck. We always find a way, people find a way, and it produces so much more for our children and opportunities to grow and move on and identify with a piece of them that they can communicate through and out of. And it just always touches my heart. So I thank you, teachers, anyone, everyone that puts in long and volunteer hours to make sure it all happens, and the parents that jump in as well. So thank you again. Good job, kiddos.
Thank you, Director Hudson. Director Chandragiri?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Superintendent Castaneda and your staff, and the Chair Guzman Ortiz for letting me join from the other side of the planet, literally. You know, with the different time zones, and thank you for allowing me to connect and figuring out what time the meeting starts there. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to join from here and to be with all of you. This is special, and it's important for me to have been. Thanks. Now
Thank you, Director.
go for breakfast.
Yes,
That's right,
go
top
enjoy.
priority.
Well, we're ready for bedtime out here.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Director Carson Cunningham, please.
Thank you. I mentioned at last meeting that Director Hudson and I were headed to the AVID showcase at McNary the next day or day after, but I just wanted to give a shout out to all the educators there and all the participants in the AVID program. We got to observe several different classrooms. We saw a government class in action, and they were reviewing really famous constitutional law cases. And I have to say, it gave me a little bit of a panic, threw me back into law school, my law school days, and I was nervous because I was like, oh, I don't remember those cases anymore. But I was just so impressed. We didn't have that, when I was in high school. I didn't get to do constitutional law in high school, and I just thought it was so exciting to see those kids in action. They each got a case to review, and then they were going to be talking about each of the cases and how it kind of applies to today's world and how it's still precedent for cases that come up today. So anyway, just shout out to those kids. We got to hear some of them already accepted into colleges, huge scholarships. I'm just always really impressed with that program. And then I've had the chance to read a lot of emails, as all of my fellow board members have, from a lot of people from the community and working in our schools. Thank you for reaching out to us and sharing your perspectives. And I think probably we've all been hearing from a lot of parents. And I've also had the opportunity to have some coffee meetings with educators, one in particular in the EDGE program, something that we don't hear a lot about or talk a lot about, but it was very interesting to learn more about how that program operates on a day-to-day basis and how important it is for a lot of the kids that are enrolled in that program. So thank you to all the all of the educators in EDGE and all of the educators district-wide. We truly appreciate you.
All I wanted to add is that the SCATS Policy Committee meeting happened last month, and I think the biggest thing of note is we're working on approving the unified work plan, and I would just love to see our entity really collaborate with the City of Salem on some of those routes that we identified for transportation needs, of making sure that we can have those improvements included in this coordinated plan between all of these entities serving the City of Turner, Salem-Keizer, some areas of Marion County and Polk County, to make sure that we're creating the safest streets for our kiddos. And also, completely side tangent, but just since Director Chandagiri brought up the time difference, it is really fascinating that it is also a half-hour time difference. So it's 9 in the morning, even though it's 8:38 over here. Weird. It's fascinating.
Absolutely. Vice Chair Richardson.
I want to say happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all of our teachers. Just know that we are so proud of you and all of the wonderful things that we know you're doing in your classrooms and for our students. I attended the Pacific Islander graduation celebration on Saturday, and it was awesome. Kids danced out on the floor, and parents came out and threw money to them and candy to them and celebrated. I know it was over 400 people there, but big turnout, and they were able to celebrate in their culture, and that is so important. It was so great. So thankful that we were doing that. McKay High School placed third at the 2024 International Championship of High Schools A Cappella Finals in New York City, and we're very, very proud of them. That's my children's mascot. Also, wanted you to know that McKay High School has a plant sale going on. They have beautiful plants. You can get them at great prices. Please go by and support our McKay High School. Crystal Apple nominees, we want to say congratulations to each and every one of you. Can't wait to celebrate you and see you very, very soon. And Superintendent, awesome, awesome budget message. You know, I talked to you before we met this evening, and I told you, I said, you know, people not showing up because you've already told us everything. We already know. We've been a part of it. You've been so transparent that they didn't have to come to find out. We already knew. And we support you. Thank you.
And I just want to lend my voice in on teacher appreciation this week and all staff appreciation. I would just echo that as well. It's amazing the work that goes into making such a positive environment for our children, and just could not appreciate staff going above and beyond every single day. I know I'm looking forward to graduations coming up starting really soon. We've already had one with Pacific Islander and coming up, so I'm really looking forward to that. And again, thank you very much, teachers.
Thank you. And is kindergarten registration open right now? Is that so? Yes, right, okay, because I was just thinking, like, it's that time of year where we're thinking about kindergartners coming in, and we're celebrating those who are exiting, graduating, and It's a time of celebration, and I want to lean into that as in these next couple of weeks. I've been looking at my calendar, and we have graduations and small, community celebrations as well. So excited to keep joining those, and Crystal Apple for sure. But thank you everyone who joined us earlier for the budget committee meeting as well. Agree, we knew it was coming. We've been talking about it. Doesn't make it any easier. But I just want to echo Superintendent Castañeda's words around leaning in this moment to, as a collective, and making sure that we partner with each other into the advocacy that this moment calls for. So with that, it is 8:45, and we will adjourn this meeting. See y'all soon.